We cannot and will not sustain deficits like these without end. Because in the end, solving our fiscal challenge, so many years in the making, will take both parties coming together.
A national debt, if it is not excessive, will be to us a national blessing. Alexander Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton and the Battle That Saved America by Kennedy Morgan, Maya Bateman, Haley Hess, and Vanessa Iku. At a time when the northern states were in debt from the American Revolution and in desperate need for a financial system that would provide them with fiscal stability, Secretary of Treasury Alexander Hamilton was the only man with the foresight and influence to successfully come up with a plan that would relieve the North of their debt while appeasing the South. A conflict developed between Hamilton and Congress over Hamilton's proposed financial system. In order to get his plan approved, Hamilton agreed to the Compromise of 1790. This compromise allowed Hamilton to implement his financial plan and set the precedent for America's current economic system.
During the American Revolution, the U.S. quickly accumulated debt. After the war, the southern states quickly disposed of their financial obligations while the northern states struggled to pay off their millions of dollars in debt. Knowing that the northern states would not be able to pay off their debts alone, Alexander Hamilton came up with an influential financial plan. In the first report on public credit, Hamilton stated, "This reflection derives additional strength from the nature of the debt of the United States. It was the price of liberty. The faith of America has been repeatedly pledged for it, and with solemnities that give peculiar force to the obligation." His plan would establish a national bank that would be able to relieve the North of their debts and keep the United States financially stable for many years. However, Hamilton knew that because of their economic differences, southern states would not support his system. He also knew that being 72% southern, the majority of Congress would not support him either.
When Hamilton proposed his ideas on December 15, 1789, Congress and the southern states quickly opposed his plan, refusing to help pay debts for the North. According to digitalhistory.edu, states like Maryland, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Virginia, which had already paid off their debts, saw no reason why they should be taxed by the federal government to pay off the debts of other states like Massachusetts and South Carolina. Due to the amount of representatives sent by these southern states, the majority of Congress were against Hamilton's innovative yet controversial plan. His ideas caused a conflict to spread throughout Congress between the southern and northern delegates. According to digitalhistory.edu, for 6 months, a bitter debate raged through Congress. This conflict continued until Congress and Hamilton could reach an agreement on June 20th, 1789.
According to Professor Alexander Haskell from University of California, Riverside, Hamilton's solution to these Republican challenges lay in trying to strengthen the national government through creative fiscal measures and taxation. In order for the delegates to reach an agreement over Hamilton's financial plan, they had to work together. Hamilton's job was to prove to Congress's 72% majority of Southern delegates that his plan would work and was the most beneficial to the nation as a whole. According to Prologue Blog's archives, on June 20th, 1790, Southern delegates Thomas Jefferson and James Madison invited Hamilton to dinner, where they proposed a compromise that would solve both the North and the South's economic differences. The dinner made history when a bargain was made in which Madison agreed not to block assumption of state debt and convince enough Southern members to support it. In exchange, the Northerners agreed to give up the capital. Congress would first pass legislation locating the capital city on the Potomac after a 10-year temporary move to Philadelphia. With this compromise, the North's debts were able to be paid off without any further complications from the Southern delegates.
After Congress finally agreed to charter the bank, President George Washington enforced the bill that would allow the bank to be built and opened for 20 years until its charter expired in 1811. The National Bank was able to relieve the North of their debts and allowed them to solve the economic differences between the North and the South for the next 20 years.
Throughout the history of the United States, Hamilton's plan has been used in some way, shape, or form. Today, his plan is the baseline of America's current economic system, also known as capitalism. Capitalism is a mixed economic system that has elements of free markets and economic control by the government. According to the Huffington Post, American capitalism is largely free market capitalism where businesses are in private hands and companies are relatively free to make decisions on what to produce, where to produce, what to pay employees, where to sell, and what intermediaries to use in distributing their products and services.
The reality is that capitalism, on the one hand, did help us develop, but please keep in mind there was a lot of work done conjunction of both public, which is the government, and private, which is the capitalist system. That was the only way toll roads got built in the colonial period and in the first part of the 19th century. That's how the Erie Canal came into being. Our economic system is really an ideal of capitalism, but a joint, shall we say, contract between various groups to produce where we are today.
Hamilton's belief and ideas about public credit has inspired the way money has been spent in our economy. American capitalism also includes the American stock market. The New York Stock Exchange is a stock exchange based in New York City that is considered the largest equities-based exchange in the world. According to visualcapitalist.com, the mighty NYSE represents $18.5 trillion in market capitalization, or about 27% of the total market for global equities. Another part of America's economic system is the United States Department of Treasury. The Treasury Department maintains a strong economy and creates economic job opportunities by promoting the conditions that enable economic growth and stability at home and abroad. The Treasury expresses Hamilton's idea that having some debt is okay, but not an excessive amount that will negatively affect the economy.
We may have to borrow money to assist people. We may have to borrow money to assist business. But if we can focus on those things that we produce well and barter for those things that we don't produce, but other countries do, then we have a balance of trade, and we can continue to borrow money as long as we're making our payments. So the national debt can be a positive thing.
Even though Hamilton was the only man that could relieve America of their debt by having the federal government assume states' debts, many thought that the better solution was to have each state pay off their own debts. The South in particular did not want to assume states' debts because it was not a liability to them, nor did it honor the morality of the United States. This led Hamilton to become a political outcast. With his different beliefs in the power of the government and the representation of the people, Hamilton often sparked political controversy within Congress, leading to a division in the government. Despite their political differences and their disdain for him, Congress knew that Hamilton was the best chance America had at building a strong economy. They knew that he would find a way to make his ideas support both the federal and Republican sides of the government.
Thanks to Hamilton and his vision for success, America's government was now able to prosper without the obstacle of debt. He had efficiently given America a lucrative financial system that would change the nation forever and molded America's current capitalistic economy through the development of the national treasury.
When we talk about the deficit and the national debt, it is important to remember how we got to where we are today.